So in our new unit, we will be studying circles, and just like in our other units, when we first started studying new figures, we have to really, video is all going to be about vocabulary surrounding circles and understanding what exactly we're talking about when we use specific terms. It's very important that you understand the vocab. So pay close attention to this video and please come back to it if you have any questions. Also, let me know as soon as you have questions so we can go ahead and work this out. You need to be prepared to identify these circle parts on all assessments and use the proper terminology and the proper geometric writing when you're assessing them or when you are addressing these terms. The first is the center. The center of a circle, and I'm going to talk about what it is as far as geometrically and what it represents. So geometrically, the center of a circle is a point. That's the first important thing. More than just a point, though, it is the point that is equidistant. That means the same distance to the edge of the circle. To the edge. So no matter where I go, if I start at the center and draw a line to the edge, that line I draw will always be the exact same distance. That's what the center of a circle is defined as. Since it's a point, we label it with a capital letter A. If I scroll down and look at my circle down here, this is the center of that circle. I'm going to label it with a capital letter A because it's a point. Scrolling back up to radius. Radius is not a point, it is a segment. More specifically, it is the segment whose endpoints are, or it connects, the center as one endpoint to the edge of the circle. So there's multiple radii in every circle. And if we look down at the bottom again, it says draw radius AG. That means start at the center and draw your segment to the edge of the circle. It doesn't matter in what direction. I chose to go here. That means I'm going to label this point G. That's radius AG. Diameter is similar, but a major difference. It is... By the way, I'm going to name this as I would any segment, my two endpoints with the segment bar above it. The diameter is also a segment, but its endpoints are different. Both endpoints are on the edges, so it connects edge to edge, but very specifically through the center. Again, if we scroll down, it says number 3, draw diameter BK. That means B is going to be on an edge, K is going to be on an edge, but it's going to connect like this, so that B and K, that segment, goes directly through the center. That's a diameter. I just drew segment BK. I label it or write it geometrically like that. A chord. A chord is also a segment. So we're very specific here whether we're dealing with segments, points, or lines. And in a chord, it is very similar to a diameter. It also connects edge to edge. But this time it is not through the center. If you scroll and look at number 4 at the bottom, it says connect G and B with a segment. And it asks what that's called. Well, if we look down here, G is here, B is here, they're both on the edge. If I go to connect those two, I have a segment that goes edge to edge but not through my center. That's a chord. I'd write it the same way over here, my endpoints with the segment bar. There's no way of looking at these and knowing whether it's a radius, diameter, or chord. All there is looking at the picture to be able to pick those out. The next major vocab word is secant. A secant, when it comes to circles, is a line. Now this is going to get confusing. It's the exact same line as your chord, except it extends through your circle. Example, I would write here that this is a line that goes through the circle with two intersections. This time if I scroll down, it's in number 6, so we're kind of skipping number 5. It says draw a line, very different than a segment, through K and G. That's what a secant is. So when I scroll down here, instead of just connecting K to G like that, there's a chord. If I go all the way through on both sides and put arrows, it's a line. That's a secant. So segment BD or BG is a chord, but if I wanted to talk about the line that went all the way through, it would be a secant. They're similar things. The only distinction between a segment, or between a chord and a secant, is segment versus line. So here I could say that this segment that we just drew, or this line that we just drew, KG, is a secant. The tangent. Tangent is also a line, but this line very specifically just, we'll say in quotes, touches the edge of the circle. It never actually goes into the interior of the circle. So for number 5, it says draw a tangent at point K. That means my line is going to be on the outside all the time. At K, it touches the edge, and it keeps going past, never into the interior. Now, in order to name a line, if we remember from Unit 1, I need another point. So I'm going to arbitrarily add a point E here. And I can now name my tangent line as line KE. I need the line bar above. The point of tangency is exactly that. It's a point. And it's where the tangent touches your circle. Okay, so the point of tangency is point K. That leaves 3 new ideas. These ideas are slightly different. Major arc, minor arc, and semicircle. Are all talking about the edge of your circle. Scroll down here and we can kind of see our circle. Major arc, minor arc, and semicircle are all talking about the edge of our circle, but it's all kind of looking at it in slightly different ways. I'm going to actually start with semicircle. That's the one that typically is one of the easier ones to pick out. A semicircle represents exactly half of the edge of the circle. Example, if I look down here and I try to pull up a highlighter, if I start here at K, I know this is exactly half of my circle down to B, because that's cut by a diameter. Now, if I want to name that arc, look at the terminology here and look at how I'm going to write this. If it is a semicircle, I need 3 points on the edge to name it. And I'm going to name those points in order. So I started at K. I'm going to do this on the outside here. I went from K. I had to go through point G on the outside, and I could stop at point B. So naming a semicircle, I need 3 points. I also need an arc symbol, so that's this little arc above it. Not a straight line, that would be a segment. 3 points with an arc means it's possibly a semicircle. I say possibly because a major arc has very similar idea. It's the same thing as far as needing 3 points, but in this case, it's if I have to do more than half the circle. I still need 3 points. So, looking back at my circle, an example. Okay. What if I don't start at K and go to B, but I start at G? And I go through B all the way back around to K. That's more than half of my circle. I'm talking about that edge. The 3 points we're dealing with are in order, and it doesn't matter if I start at K and go to G or start at G and go to B. What matters is B is in the middle, so when I drew it, started at G, I went through B and hit K. And there's my arc symbol. So those are very similar notations. The only difference is you have to be able to look at your circle and determine, is it exactly half or more than half? Minor arc is a little different. You can tell from its name whether it's a minor arc or not. You can't necessarily tell if it's a semicircle or a major arc. It's a minor arc if it's less than half the circle. And what's nice about this is I only need 2 points to name this. So if I were talking about an arc that's less than half the circle, for example, this arc here, that's less than half the circle. It starts at K and it goes to G. I just need those 2 points and the arc symbol above it. Now I have my minor arc because it's less than half. Okay, so that's the definitions. That's what everything represents. What you guys are going to need to be able to do with all of that is on the back of these notes. I'll give you a diagram that'll look something like this. And I will have a list of all of our vocab words, and then a list with geometric symbols of different parts that are on that circle. And you have to match those up with the correct vocab word. So what I want you to do is take a few minutes right now. You're gonna, when I'm done talking, press pause and try to fill this out. When you unpause, I'll have the answers up there and I will talk through at least the more tricky ones, the ones that people tend to get wrong. There will definitely be problems like this on your quizzes and tests in this unit, so make sure you understand how to differentiate between these. Go ahead and press pause now. Try these 9 problems and then check your work. So here are your correct answers. Please check your work. What I want you to pay close attention to is number 1 in particular here. Number 1 says segment RC, which means that's F, a chord. That is different from number 7, line RC. Line RC is a secant. Very big distinction. Those are not the same answers, even though they're represented by the same letters. Okay. QRS, 3 points, so I know it's either a major arc or a semicircle. I know that because of the arc symbol above it, so it means start at Q, go to R, and then end at S. I went more than half the circle. That's why it's a major arc. Segment CQ, edge to edge through the center, is a diameter. SW is a tangent. Arc SC, 2 letters, I could have automatically said that's a minor arc, and then I see it is less than half. Arc Q to